WNBA and WNBA edition. Honestly, we're ready to talk a lot of basketball today, but of course, we have to get to the finals, Jay. The insane finals that we just got to watch, the ending to what was an amazing playoffs. And it ends with, I think, one of the most insane, historical, and just craziest playoff runs we've ever seen.
I think to me the biggest thing that I got from this is how satisfying it was. Even as someone who's not a Knicks fan, I came away from this being like, damn, I feel good for them. Like not just the fans, but like genuinely, like when you think about the the players and like everything they've been through, like Cat's personal story, about like losing his mom and everything. Like all like it feels like every player on that team like has a reason, like and a good reason to be a part of the championship team. Like even you go down to Jeremy Sohan, beefing with Wimby during that final game. Like all of it just felt like this team was like you feel good for them in a lot of senses. And I think it's very hard for like, and obviously it's not unanimous. Like we still got Sixers and Celtics fans who are like fuck the Knicks still. And I think to some degree, I think that still does ride in you. But you're putting aside a little bit to be like this is a cool moment. It's history. And I think that's how I kind of feel where it's like everyone has laughed at the Knicks for so long, where it's like, damn, like you honestly kind of respect the Knicks a little bit to be like, I appreciate them. Like, this is a big moment for them.
I mean, yeah, they went from Frank Ntilikina to this, so like that's a pretty big and great jump for them.
Yeah.
I've had her hear that name so many times with a Knicks fan. Like, it's like it'll be random. It's like I swear to God, he'll curse under his breath and just like fucking Ntilikina. I'm like, what? Like, what? It's like either that or Trae Young, but. Yeah. But I mean, like you said, it's just like because we talked about this before the finals game where we were saying like this could be such a huge moment, not just for like the NBA in general because it's the Knicks, but just like the sports world in general. Like this causes waves. Like this is a huge moment. I mean, you got to think it's New York, it's the Knicks, and it's a team that with that kind of legacy that plays in the Garden, right, the mecca of basketball that hasn't won a championship in 53 years. I mean, they've been starving for it. So then you have this like fantastic videos of the celebrations afterwards. And I think my favorite one, I don't want to ask you this, like of all the celebration videos you watched, I think my favorite one was the guy who was like he must have been like 30 floors up at least. And it was just a video of like right when the Knicks won and everyone started screaming and celebrating. Like you could hear it across the city.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that's amazing. That was like so cool. And then like for us, I think we can like what's great about us is like we can relate because of like the Eagles and the Super Bowl, like us being able to go out and celebrate that in the streets, like in the city of like that home team. There's really nothing like it. Like I even told my like every Knicks fan I know, I was like, I just texted him, I was like, enjoy it, be in the moment. Like you're not gonna like this. It's one of the greatest feelings in the world, and you need to like embrace it.
All right. Enough about the sappy stuff. How did we get here, and how are we talking about a Knicks finals victory? And if you ask James Dolan, it starts with not having sex. Because that to me, I think was the craziest thing to come out of all of this. Like, yes, it's a really good moment. Like, it almost killed the momentum for me to be like, wait, what? When you asked him to do what to start? Which, like, I think I understand it to some degree. Like, we constantly hear about like the superstitions, especially in sports. Like, ironically, the new Sixers GM, kind of might have screwed himself a little bit because at a Phillies game yesterday, Jesus Luzardo was having a no-hitter through 4 innings, and he was on the live broadcast, and he was like, "Oh, like no-hitter so far," and then the next hit broke up the no-hitter, and you can literally hear someone on the broadcast go, "Oh boy, oh brother." And then, so I was reading a story about it and like working on it, and I was like, yeah, like fair enough. And so like I was reading the comments of it on Instagram. I'm a complete total side tangent here, and the first comment was like it was like count your days, like you're already it was like you're on thin ice already. And I was like, he's been GM for less than a month, like and he's already got people be like, yeah, no, like this is serious. But either way, front offices can be serious, and they're superstitious, and we constantly hear about like the hockey players not shaving their beards during playoffs. I've never heard somebody come out and be like, yeah, I asked him not to have sex, like, and then like relate it back to like the olden times and be like, well, that's what they did. Like, you need to don't tell your wives I'm telling you to do this. Like, just talk to them. Which I was like, that I think that to me is the funniest part, just to be like, don't tell your wives I had anything to do with this. And it's like, oh, you want to get out of this one. But like in all seriousness, besides the no, the abstaining from sex,
Well,
I
because I had more on that because that is like
oh
a very common like superstitious like thing within
yeah.
like across all sports. Like I heard it when I played football. Like we were, this is gonna sound bad
I
because
know
I thought,
like UFC and boxers like they
yep,
do that a lot.
we would talk about it in football all the time, especially our O&D linemen, because they're like, hey, this is gonna sound so bad. This is gonna sound so bad. I need everyone to recognize that I am quoting my high school football coach verbatim here, okay? And this is like an apology to my mom and my dad probably too, but especially my mom. But we used to hear every single week of a game. It was, you play the game Friday, you do some film study on Saturday, you break Monday, or Sunday, and you come back Monday morning for workout, whatever it was. Every single Monday morning, what we heard, one of the first things out of our coach's mouth was, "Women make the legs weak." So it was just his way of saying every single time, like, relax for the football season. And
Yeah,
then, have you ever seen the movie Bull Durham?
I have not.
It's a really, really good old baseball movie. Kevin Costner, Susan
I have heard, I
Sarandon.
feel like Kevin Costner's in every fucking sports
Yeah,
movie, but continue.
fantastic. It's about a minor league team, the
Yeah.
Durham Bulls, like the Atlanta. Yeah. So there's a scene in it where, because they're both kind of being Susan Sarandon's character, she kind of like mentors them on the side, like all these like minor league baseball players that come
Yeah.
through. And at one point, and she, does stuff with them. And at one point, Kevin Costner pulls the pitcher, the star pitcher, to the side. I forget his name. I feel so bad for forgetting this actor's name. He's the one from Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, does he play Andy
Tim
Dufresne?
Robbins.
Tim
Tim
Robbins, yeah.
Robbins. Yeah, so he's telling Tim Robbins' character, who's like the hot up and coming pitcher, he was like, "Don't have sex with her because it'll take your mind off everything. You need to be focused on the game." It was his way of like messing with him to be like, like, because he also kind of, like, Kevin Costner liked her character too. But anyways,
Yeah.
but it's always so funny when you hear that so many times, the fictional characters. I mean, you even think like even the sillier ones like Blue Mountain State, they have a whole episode about it, right? But then they all have to do something else. But yeah, so like it's just always so funny. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like when you're bringing it up, and it's so funny because like hearing that in real life from a real life like NBA owner who
Yeah.
told his players like no sex for 10 weeks straight, and they apparently listened to it with
I
how
mean,
angry they were.
clearly it paid off.
Yeah.
And I think the crazy transition to be like, it clearly didn't seem to bother Jalen Brunson at all. Which I mean, like when you like, I mean, the man scored 45 in a closeout game, half of the Knicks points. Like, I look, and that's why I was like, very strange method of how we got here. With that being said, you saw the results. If Jalen Brunson actually was abstaining, the man was hooping. Like, and bottom line, even if he wasn't, bottom line, the man was out there balling. And I think that was because we had talked about this. Is that like if the Knicks were to, which they did, but before the series was over, it was like, who do you give like the Finals MVP to? Where it's like Jalen Brunson has obviously been the guy for them in the clutch, but you have OG Anunoby who's been like insane, especially you consider not just the tip in to win that game, that crazy comeback game, but also like being the way he was shooting the ball from three, the way he was getting to his spots, the way he's been that guy for them as well. It's like he deserved just as much credit as Jalen Brunson. So there were seriously some people being like, the Knicks win this, I'm going OG for Finals MVP. And then we get to that game 5, and it's like, oh no, what was I thinking? Like Jalen Brunson literally has half of the Knicks points. They showed that graphic, and I was like, how did we ever like think it would be anyone else? Like this is the king of New York. Like and he, rightfully so, deserves that moment. But like as much as we could say like this was Jalen Brunson's game, and it was like you score half the Knicks
Can I
points.
just
Like
go over his numbers real quick? So for
yeah, go
context
ahead.
for people, like he played 41 minutes, and I'm literally just reading the box score here. I'm sorry to be that sports guy, but like just we need to understand what this man did. Like before we go into more context, 41 minutes, 45 points. The team scored 94 points total. He scored 45 of them. That is just shy as half of it. He was 14 of 27 from the field. He shot 4 of 7 from three. 13 of 15 from the free throw line. Oh, and added a couple steals and some rebounds and assists in there as well. That is absolutely insane. And again, and I'll get back to you in a second. And again, it was the same thing we've seen in all the other finals games where it was like the Spurs had the lead. They led for, I mean, the Knicks only had a lead for 10% of this game. And the only reason, again, why the Knicks kept it close the entire game was because it was Jalen Brunson continuing to score, and he was doing it efficiently in this game, and he keeping the game close and being that consistent force for them until the end, where it was still, what was cool about this game, it was like it really was the Jalen Brunson game because he
Yeah.
scored 45. The next closest person scored 14 on his team, And so it was like while there were some timely buckets from people like OG and whatnot later on in the game, it was still Jalen Brunson beginning to end. Like this was his stamp on not just the finals but the playoffs as one of the greatest playoff runs we've ever seen from a team and from an individual player who is now officially the king of New York.
Yeah. He like if there was any doubt about like once again the finals MVP, but also like his legacy and like the questions about him as a player, and like and we always constantly hear the who's the best in the league right now. And I'm not saying he is the best in the league because I still think like when you consider when you consider the top guys, like he should be up there. And I think so many times like throughout the season we weren't hearing Jalen Brunson's name because it's like, oh, like they're the Knicks, like we know what's going to happen when the playoffs come. And now we see like we didn't know the case. But as well as Jalen Brunson, like you mentioned, they were
the Knicks to go to the finals.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I did.
I didn't. I had the Celtics. The Celtics looked way too good, and then they ran into Tyrese Maxey and a half,
and a healthy Joel Embiid. Well, healthy-ish.
Hell, I was about to say like a 45%, Joel Embiid out there. It didn't matter because they still lost, but.
Yeah. I think Zach Lowe put it perfectly. He was like, the Sixers were healthy for a week. They beat the Celtics, and that was it.
Yeah. Either way, like, as much as this was like the Jalen Brunson show, and you mentioned there were some timely buckets from other people, there were some timely moments in general. Yeah. Mitchell Robinson had one of the greatest rebounds, and I'll say it, one of the greatest rebounds in NBA Finals history. Like, to box out Wemby. And get a clutch offensive rebound. I was like, that's the game right there. That to me, I was like, this is where it ends. The Knicks won this. I literally texted my girlfriend after, because she's superstitious in the sense that like, and I blame her for OKC losing, because she was like, I blame her because she was like, oh yeah, like she's like, I need to tell you something. I need you not to be mad. And I was like, yeah, sure, like that could be a wide range of things. And she was like, every time I go to check, I've checked the OKC game to like see what the score is. They've lost that game. And so I like every time I asked you, they didn't lose. So she was like, I learned my lesson, and I'm just going to ask you from now on. And I was like, we couldn't have pieced that together before 4 losses against the Spurs. But I was like,
after game 2, we got.
I was like, look, I was like, I get it, right. 1 game, you're like, wow, that's kind of crazy. 2 games, you're like, all right, like we got to pat. 3, you're like, I need to stop checking the score. And so like I was like, I find it interesting how this pattern continued into the finals. So I was after that Mitchell Robinson rebound, I was like, the Knicks have won this game, because I was like, I don't think the Spurs have enough clutch shooting, or really anyone that can step up in that moment where we've seen, Victor Wembanyama struggle in those moments. We've seen De'Aaron Fox be inconsistent in these moments. And
they have a guy.
And okay, so I'll start there. Dylan Harper as a rookie to come out there and put up, okay, once again, read the stat lines. I don't want to be that guy, but 31 minutes, 25 points, 10 for 19 from shooting, went 2 for 4 from the 3. Dylan Harper is out there like being a man. Like, and we constantly hear, like, we've heard the discussions about, oh, he's so much more than a rookie. He looks like a veteran out there. He looked confident in being aggressive. And I think we've constantly seen him, get to the rim and be aggressive, especially against Jalen Brunson as a smaller guard on him and being like, I don't see you. I'm just getting to the rim. For him to be able to be knocking down threes, I'm like, oh, like these things sting. Like I was like, there were a couple of times like, and obviously the Knicks love to like stay in that like 10 to 15 like point trailing lead. But I was like Dylan Harper, like those 2 threes came at crucial moments where I was like, damn, like I don't know, like this game might be different. I was like, the Spurs just might have too much. Like at this, like they maybe just learned, and then you see that start to come back in. And those ironically coincided to the minutes where we're not seeing Dylan Harper on the court. So he was like the one part of all this where I was like, I look at this and say, like, if there's any, yes, I know you had a historic, blown lead. You had a lot of just multiple blown leads, but that historic one stands out the most. You were in the finals. You have, a young rookie in Dylan Harper who looked impressive. You still have Victor Wembanyama. You have a young core. Like everything's going forward for you. But Dylan Harper, to me, was the biggest takeaway of all this, where I was like, he is the guy for them moving forward. And there were a lot of questions about like even when they drafted Dylan Harper to be like, what is the moves here? You just traded for Fox. Like he's clearly going to be your guy for the present. Dylan Harper's the guy for the future, but you have Stefan Castle as well. Like the guard room starts to get a little interesting. And I think when he was out there at game side, I was like, the Spurs front office knew what they were doing. And we've constantly seen that they know what they were doing, but to see it play out is another thing. It's like, yeah, like you can tell Sam Presti's cooking with OKC, but it's like to see them win a finals, you're like, oh, like that, like it plays out. And especially in an era of like failed big threes, and you look at the Lakers every year, big, offseason acquisitions that end up being duds. Like it's just cool to see it actually play out. And then you have Devin Vassell coming out after the game saying like, oh yeah, like he wasn't happy with his minutes, which like there's two sides of this where it's like I can understand like it felt like to me you're trying to point the finger of being like, like this is on the coaching staff, which to be fair, I completely agree with you. Like
Okay,
in that
so
moment to be like, this is on the coaching staff. I still think like Devin Vassell should not be going in post game pressers right after losing the finals and being like, yeah, Dylan Harper wasn't happy with his finals minutes. Like I could tell you that. Like I can sit there and be like, yeah, like you could tell. Like I don't say you get because I think him as a professional, you could tell that it was bothering him. Like,
no.
and to be fair, they're not focusing on it. We're not seeing him on the bench like doing anything like drastic, but like the minutes that he was, even the early games when Fox is still, relatively coming back from his injury, and you're trying to figure out what his health is and what that looks like. They still had Fox out there over Dylan Harper, and we saw that early on. And as the series went on, they got better with it. But like I looked at the stats, Dylan Harper played like 28 minutes or more in this entire series. And the last time he played less than 20 minutes was against OKC in a blowout loss. So I look at this and say, like, I think his minutes were good for what they should have been. I think the minutes were good. I think the times were another part of this, and I think that to me is that should be the focus of this. I think his minutes were good, but when you look at when those minutes came, I think should be the focus of this and what the Spurs coaching staff should be focusing on. And to be fair, I think I can understand the thought process in saying like we want our veteran guy out there, De'Aaron Fox, and we saw him the one game that they did win against the Knicks. It was when De'Aaron Fox closed it out for them. But in that same sense, you had Dylan Harper out there for the majority of time on the court for you making plays. So I like, as much as I've given shit to the Spurs coaching staff, and rightfully so for everything they've done, I should look at this and say, like, I think they did the best handling the Dylan Harper like minutes to me, and saying like he's still a rookie. We don't want to give him too much to overwhelm him, but also saying like he's rising to the occasion. Let's give him more, and like not like holding back by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I'll push back a little bit and defend Coach Mitch Johnson a little bit on this because I do feel like he kind of got caught in the middle of some bullshit that was a lot of like Fox's fault because it
Yeah,
seems like most of the ill will from these players is actually towards Fox and not as much as the coaches. And like it's Fox waving people off in clutch moments when it's like, yo, we have Wemby and these other guys were hooping. Like we kind of like, I mean, because you were reading off his stat line, everything great that he did. Fox scored 7 points. He scored 7 points and he played 6 more minutes than Dylan Harper did. He went 3 of 15 from the field, 1 of 8 from three. Like that cannot be happening. And a large part of that is like, yeah, that's on the coach. Like you got to take him out. You got to let Harper be like, you're the primary ball handler. You go out there and like try to win this game for us, basically, which is a lot to put on a rookie. But as we just contextualize all of this, clearly this dude was built for the moment, and he deserved at least a chance to prove that he could do it. Especially when you're in a game like this, like what do you have to lose at that point, right? Like I guess you could say like everything, but your backs are against the wall in an elimination game. You got to try something other than De'Aaron Fox waving off your all-stars to take bad shots that
yeah,
he's been missing for most of the series. So, yeah, there was a bit of a negligence on the coaching side of this, but I also think a lot of this, like, De'Aaron Fox seemed to almost go on, like, an ego trip during these finals and kind of try to be like, well, I'm the vet. Like,
yeah,
let me handle this and calm everything down. I got to a point in this series and in this game specifically where I was like, I would, if we're trusting vets over the young guys, put Harrison Barnes out there at this point, like better than like put his ass in the corner and put Fox like on the bench because this is annoying as hell to watch. It felt like malpractice, like watching like De'Aaron Fox go out there and do what he did. And like at first, it's like we've defended him a lot during the playoffs. And like, look, there's a reason you got him, like blah blah blah. But then I think once we got past like game 2 or 3 of the finals, it's kind of like, yeah, this isn't like attainable anymore. Like you have to make a change.
I think it
And
was Fogg's purpose was good as a playmaker, as a ball handler, and I think we saw that was lacking from the OKC series, especially early those first two games where Stephon Castle's your primary ball handler, and he's damn near got 20 turnovers in 2 games for you. You're like, shit, we need our
he
playmaker, we
did
need our
have
ball
20
handler
turnovers
back,
2 games.
and then you bring him back, and it's like, all right, his role is not just ball handling, but you need him to score clutch buckets for you. And to be fair, like, and this is where I I can understand why you trust him at that moment, where it's like, this is a former clutch player of the year. Like, you're saying, go out there and be that guy for us. He isn't that guy anymore. And I know,
Yeah.
that to me, I think is the biggest like part of all this, where it's like, yes, he could be out there and he should be doing this type of things a couple years ago. Like, that would be the De'Aaron Fox of the like the Beam Kings era, where it's like they're winning these crazy games late, and he's a big part of hitting those clutch shots. He isn't that type of player anymore, and I think the San Antonio system isn't built to allow him to do that either way, because it is such like a Wimby focused system. But at the same time, it's like, yes, a lot of this will go on Fox. I think too much of this of the San Antonio losing this falls on Fox, and especially this final game where it's like, Stephon Castle, 6 points, 1 for 10 shooting.
And that
On one
last
side of
bucket
the
didn't come till the last moments of the game.
as one like on one end of the spectrum of rookies, where you see like Dylan Harper like stepping up in the moment, being that guy for you. There's the other end where it's like Stephon Castle has not, and yes, he's been that guy for you, and you're still getting the defensive impact from him at times. With that being said, the offensive game, it like we see that there's still room to grow, and I think that was the biggest knock for him, and we saw that like throughout his rookie year and even this year as well, where it's like he's still developing the offensive bag, and he can score at times, but then there's moments like this where it's like you really need him and he doesn't show up. De'Aaron Fox we already mentioned, but Victor Wembanyama, I think this to me was the most frustrating thing out of all of this, to be like, oh, like Wemby tried so hard, he was so emotional, like he gave it his all, like his all, like
Can I
in the
ask
clutch.
our producer that doesn't exist to put the flashing Wemby hate sign above Jay for me, please? Thank you.
Wemby in the fourth quarter was 1 for 5 and scored 3 points. Like that to me is, and I was kind of like joking, but at the same time I was serious, where I was like, that's who y'all wanted to be MVP. And I know it's a regular season award, so my point is just I'm just being a hater.
Yeah.
But I still think like these are moments where it's like Victor Wembanyama still has to grow, still has to grow into his game and grow into the player that he is capable of. And I think like this is a case of just doing too much. And I think we've seen it at times where it's like I would much rather him like stop, like not completely stop taking threes, but reduce it if it means being in the paint and drawing attention to yourself and opening up lanes for everyone else. And I think at times they overcomplicate and try to give Wemby too much, to be like, all right, we need you to go on the perimeter, take these shots. And maybe that's also him being like, I'm going to take this three. Because I think at times we saw it where it's like, oh, I got space. Like, I'm going to pull it. This shit. Like, nobody's stopping me. And it's that confidence where it's like, I think this is to me, like, yes, this all goes back to the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff just needs to find a balance of when to intervene themselves with the player and letting the player just grow and have the confidence to do things themselves. And I think like you can literally, like every player that I mentioned, you can literally apply that to someone where it's like, all right, De'Aaron Fox, like we need to reel you back in a little bit. I think Wemby needs to be reeled back in a little bit. Stephon Castle, that's a weird one where it's like you reel him in a little bit, but like it's kind of like you need to kind of generate his chances a bit better. I think where it's like if you structure him and give him some action to like you design some plays to get him in rhythm, I think it's a different conversation. And then it's Dylan Harper where it's like, let the leash off of him, let him like unwind a little bit, let him be the player that he's capable of. And so I think that to me is like the biggest malpractice of all of this, and I think it's the biggest issue. And looking at this and saying like what the future is for them is like finding the balance of how to develop these players. And even a player like Carter Bryant, who's like, continuing to grow, like what is the leash for him developing? And I think that is going to be my biggest question for the Spurs moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, the future is bright for the Spurs, but they definitely have some issues to work out that were very much highlighted over, especially the final series. And I think a lot of it is just playoff experience. I mean, the fact that this team was here in the finals was unexpected. Like, we all thought they were going to be good, but with the way they started off the season and then the OKC games, and then it was like as the season went on, it was like, okay, they're starting to look more real and real as it goes on. But everyone had the same thought. Once they get to the playoffs, like we'll see what they can do, but playoff experience really does matter. And while yes, they did make it to the finals because they are that talented, the playoff experience showed itself once they went against the Knicks. And
playoff experience, and I think the depth as well. Like we constantly compared them to like OKC, and to be fair, they do have a shit ton of depth. But it's a combination of you need depth with playoff experience. Like OKC is bringing out like Alex Caruso and Casey Wallace off the bench for them. And then you look at the Spurs and it's like, all right, like your Luke Cornett minutes are like you're struggling out there where it's like it feels like a panic. Like you're trying to get through those minutes.
Bad minutes.
Yeah. And so it works that it's like they still have such a young team where it's like you can retool this and adjust and make very minor changes and be back in the same position next year.
Minor?
What happened?
A minor? Are
I
we keeping De'Aaron Fox?
I feel like the contract it's going to be tough to get him off. Like I think
Houston's not that far of a drive.
The contract and but they're going to get Fred VanVleet back. I don't know. I think the contract to me is the biggest
Fox
thing.
For Reed Shepard and a pick.
Oh, would the Rockets be like willing to give that up though?
Reed Shepard comes off the bench for you if you're the Spurs, and for the Rockets, you've been trying to microwave this championship run for like a couple of years now.
I honestly, I'm not mad at that. I would like I think the Rockets, once again, the contract stuff like they'd probably be in hell. Between Kevin Durant and him,
KD and all that too.
Yeah, I was about to say,
that was one of my thoughts of like a guard needing team. I'm like,
yeah, it would be interesting to say the least. But I just think when it comes to getting rid of him, like if that's what I think that's where most fans' heads are at. Like it would be tougher than to actually see it happen. So I'm going with the assumption that they keep him out of reluctance at this point, and then reduce his role. And then, like, just like you see how
that's the thing. How do you reduce his role with with what he wants and with what his money wants?
I think like you get to a point where it's like it doesn't matter. Like this is what the team is going to do, and I don't think we have the Spurs as an organization have any issue with being like, oh, you don't want to be here, like. Oh, cool. Like, you know what? We're going to send you to fucking purgatory. Like, and you're going to have to deal with that.
Well,
like,
he already left purgatory. He left Sacramento.
We'll send you back to...
Purgatory 2.0 is. If you sent him back to the Kings, that would be the most disrespectful thing ever done in the NBA. That would be crazy.
What would be I would say, like, they sent him to the Nets, and I was like, I don't think there's anyone worth their return to being like, yeah, we'd even consider, like, getting something in return from you. Like it just isn't worth it.
It's like the Nets have a lot of money, but you're not going to take any of those 5 first-round picks that they wasted. So, but let's get back to the Knicks. Like we can't end it on the Spurs when we talk about these finals because we do have to talk about. I mean, first of all, Jalen Brunson, he is officially like an NBA icon. Like, and like I know a lot of people have been trying to be like, oh, you guys are all glazing. It's all too much. Like I hate now to like this was kind of with like the Wemby conversation of like, oh, trying hard. This is an amazing and legendary moment within the NBA, and I don't think we should all like mute our celebrations for it just because some people are in their feelings or think that like you have to be nonchalant about everything. What Jalen Brunson did these entire playoffs is fucking legendary, dude. And I do not like the Knicks, so you have to take it from me that like this dude was out there hooping every single game for them. Like he is the main driving force for this team. He's the leader. He's the captain. He's everything for them on offense. He put his nuts on the table, taking some of those shots on Wemby when he was guarding him on the perimeter. But like he was stone cold the entire time. He was clearly fueled by some outside noise that was going on. You can tell by the celebrations afterwards, the Becky Hammond stuff, even the Wemby stuff. Like they were saying, "Fuck Wemby" with some cheers. Like he was clearly. I mean, not that he needed more motivation, but like he was clearly like the most motivated, stone cold, like calming presence for the team the entire time. He's the only reason they were even in half of the games that they played because he was their most consistent driving force when it came to the offense. Obviously like the cat changes and everything like that helped out a lot, but what Jalen Brunson did during these plays should not be like just thrown to the wayside. Like this should be stuff that we're talking about like years from now. Like, yeah, remember that Knicks one with Jalen Brunson when he did all of this? And then, like we said, like to score nearly half of your team's points in an elimination game to win the championship. Absolutely nuts, and he was especially deserving to get that Finals MVP. But I mean, OG, who has been hilarious. Yeah. This is one of my favorite parts about like the championship is like following the team after like how they like celebrate. OG has been living in a different like reality since they won this game. Man, I mean, the Good Morning America stuff where he did. He's
just attention. Yeah, just standing there like, oh, like they ask him a question, he's just like even his teammates are like looking around like, oh, like he's going like.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been cool to see like Mikal Bridges' IG live. I remember I texted you because all the clips were coming out because from his IG live. I was like, "Are you seeing these?"
I completely like missed all of it. So I was watching it like retroactively, seeing it like unfold over the next couple of days, and I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, I can't imagine what I would do if I was like if I was like any like Knicks PR person and like seeing this unwind, and you're like, shit, like he's not in a good space, like
Yeah.
in a
I mean,
good
even
way, where
Jalen
it's like,
Brunson tweeted out, somebody take his phone away
yeah,
from him.
I was like, yeah, like this is where one of the teammates that are calling me like, all right, like let's get you off live, like,
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's always funny to see like a player's true personality and not their immediate personality when they do something like that. And I didn't know Mikhail talked like that. I didn't was not aware he moved like that. So that was part of the fun. And then just all the stuff he was like him going down the list, talking about all of his teammates, his coaches, like James Dolan, like all of them being like Josh Hart, I love him, and like yeah, you know, he like showing the jerseys. He was so funny. At one point, he shows Dante DiVincenzo's jersey, like he gets like sad for a moment. He's like, okay, and then it was like just going. He's like Sohan, that killer came in, and then he was like James Dolan. He was like it was crazy. He told us no sex, but you know he did it. And it was just like, and then Coach Brown, like all the love that the coaches have for all the players
yeah,
have for Coach Brown, which is so cool, man. Like he is genuinely like one of the like coolest dudes and coaches within the league. Like he has been for many years, and it was so weird how Sacramento got rid of him the way they did, like the disrespect. And then like it was so cool that the Knicks were able to like scoop him up. And then all the stories you hear about Mike Brown and how he has coached and led this team since he's gotten there, with building his relationships with the team, which is like one of the first things he started trying to do, building that trust with them, hearing and keeping an open door policy to hear everything from his, players, coaches, whoever it may be, and just the way they kept evolving and going throughout the year, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with Cat? Like how do we work this out? It's just it's cool to see a guy like that win as well, and watching him be himself in the city and be celebrated like this. And then the parade hasn't even happened yet, and we already have all these legendary moments of
yeah.
celebration. And the parade is tomorrow, so I can't wait to see what that looks like. I think that's going to be one of the coolest parts about all this is seeing this parade through the city. It's going to be one of the best parades we've ever seen after a
Yes.
championship.
I can't imagine what the turnout was going to be. I had like people in work who were like, "Oh yeah, like I'm doing my work virtual so I can go." And I
Yeah.
was like, "For real?" I was like, "I'm not gonna lie, like that's probably fun as hell. I can't even blame you." So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And my final thing I'll add about just the whole Knicks and everything. I think Jose Alvarado is now like one of the greatest Puerto Rican players like to ever step foot on a
I thought you
court.
were
And
just
I
saying
was
one of the
like,
greatest Puerto Ricans.
I was like,
He might be.
I was like, and that was already my first thought. I was like, he's top like as a Puerto Rican myself. Like I was like, he's up there for me. Where I was like, he's the ideal like New York Puerto Rican man. Where
Oh
I was
yeah.
like that's Poppy right there, respectfully, like not in a
Oh,
weird way.
hold up.
That's just it's term endearment. Um, and I was like, dang, like I started thinking about, I was like, who's like on the Puerto Rican like Mount Rushmore? And I was like, honestly, it's like Jose Alvarado and Melo. And I was like, Melo don't got a ring, respectfully, like so. It'll be interesting, and we're always gonna hear these crazy conversations about like, oh, where does
Wait,
Jalen
wait,
Brunson
wait,
rank
wait,
all
wait, wait,
time
wait.
now?
Hold
Like
on, hold on,
we're
hold on.
hearing some crazy stuff. Where does Cat rank all time? Like I was like, I hate like listening to that, but like I'll put up with it big like right after a win because I think it's fun to like Knicks fans start to, even any fan who wins, to be like, well, like I think there's players like this all the time, and it's like, let's wait a little bit.
Yeah,
let's let this unwind a little bit.
I will say though, real quick. Uh, you said greatest Puerto Ricans of all time, and you didn't mention Bad Bunny. We're just
Oh,
leaving that
I
out.
was saying Puerto Rican like players, like Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo
Okay.
Anthony is the first one to come to mind. Bad Bunny, of course, he's up there already.
Okay.
Puerto
I get what you're saying.
Ricans.
I was a little worried. I was like, huh? I
If you
was
say
like,
Puerto Rican athletes, I still consider Bad Bunny a Puerto Rican athlete because if you've seen his WWE stuff, it was insane. Like as a WWE fan, he was doing some stuff out there. I was like, shit. Like he's. We need to get him as a full time person. Like
can I
he's better.
can I go on a WWE tangent real quick? Recently, because you
Maybe.
talk to me about the WWE all the time, and I have some other
Yeah.
friends that do as well. And I think it's my phone must have been hearing people because my algorithm sometimes on TikTok has been WWE, but like nothing new, like
Okay.
old WWE. What do you call it? This is gonna sound so bad. I'm sorry, wrestling fans. When
So
they're
okay.
talking shit to each other.
So it's by eras, right? So if it's the '90s, like WCW, WWF,
I'll tell you the
that's the
wrestlers I was
Attitude Era.
watching because it was me watching. Basically, I kept getting these like edits of like wrestlers talking shit to each other and like saying some like crazy stuff. But then of course like TikTok editors who are on like another plane of existence
Yeah.
like, lately. Yes, I'm like doing these cool edits of like The Rock. It was like Sting. It was Shawn Michaels. It
That's
was
all the like the Attitude Era. Like
Yeah, like a
that was
lot of
prime like Monday Night Wars, where it was like you had WCW and WWF like going head to head with the
yeah.
ratings and stuff, and that was Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, like
Yeah,
all of
exactly. So I kept getting those guys on my feed, like all these edits of them talking crap to each other, which were like they were good at talking crap. Like they
yeah.
say some like really funny. It's like, I'm gonna, take this and turn it sideways and shove it up your ass, or like whatever. I was like, what the? I was like, I didn't know The Rock talking like that. This is crazy. This is cool. But like, yeah, I don't know. I kept getting, and I realized I was like, I don't really like the wrestling aspect of it, but I do love the promos and them just talking shit to each other. Like to me, that seems like the most fun
Yeah.
part of wrestling.
I think this is. I think it's a balance that you have to really kind of figure out, because I think there's some people who like I want like technical grabs, like I want to see like in ring work, I want to see like all of this stuff, and I was like,
It's
that's
fake.
cool and all, and I'm good for that like occasionally. To me, I think the best thing is when you balance all of it, like where you have like your like at the end of the day like WWE, and I like yes they swapped from WWF to WWE because of the licensing and the name, but I think it
Oh,
literally fit them more of being like World Wrestling Entertainment, because it literally at the same time is like it is like it's entertainment at the end of the day. Like you have like there are some insane storylines, like the stuff that they were coming up with, where it's like you're going out there and you're fighting God. Like that is actually a storyline, like an actual match where Shawn Michaels has to like team with God to go against the McMahons. Like there is some insane like shit where it's like this you can only get in wrestling, where it's like, and this is, I know this isn't WWE, but there was literally a storyline of a wrestler buying his childhood home and his worst enemy burning it down and on live TV and setting it ablaze and just sitting in a chair and like hard as hell flick of just posing in front of his burning childhood home. And I was like, only in pro wrestling do you get like break-ins, house burning down, and all of it is legal apparently. Nobody gets the cops involved. Occasionally they do.
can I say my favorite one was from The Rock? I forget who he was talking to. And the context I got, he's this dude with long blonde hair, which is half the like wrestling I see. It's like, but it was back in that era, and it was like he had just made the transition to the WWE from another organization. And I'll say my
Chris
favorite line.
Jericho. Chris
Yeah,
Jericho.
yeah. It was the one where The Rock goes after three long minutes. And then just watching Chris Jericho's face as The Rock goes on and just kills him after saying like "you boring motherfucker." I was just like, "Oh, this is great." I was like, "I love this." But yeah, I don't know why we had to go on a wrestling tangent there, but
Yeah, it's fair enough. This is where else do you get something like this in pro wrestling, where it's like
Jesus.
this is legal and like cool as hell, and I
So
was
he
like,
actually like that was real. He bought the guy's childhood home and burnt it down.
so the guy it was funny because it was so it's Swerve Strickland, and that's Hangman Adam Page, and so they did like a little like post on their socials the day, like the obviously the shows like will air Wednesday nights, so
Hmm.
they did a post and they were like, oh, like Swerve is buying his childhood home. They made this big deal about it. He's like, it's so emotional to me, it means a lot, and it's like, oh, like cool little post. Later that night, it's like they cut to like they're supposed to have this like a confrontation that night, and
Hmm.
they cut to him like Hangman at Swerve's house, and I was like, oh no way, like I was like, well, what's gonna happen? And then like you literally see him with like the lighter fluid and like the tank, and I was like, oh shit, like where are we going with this? Like it's that to me is like it's the dumb stuff that I love in wrestling, where it's like, yeah, I do think you definitely need like your technical match occasion where it's like you were wowed by like the moves they did and everything. At the end of the day, it's entertainment, and I think
Yeah.
so many times like even people like WWE and AEW are polar opposites of each other because you can get different styles of wrestling. I like to watch both because you like the more the merrier. It's like watching the WNBA and the NBA to me, like where it's like you get two different styles of basketball and you can
Hmm.
enjoy both of them. And like for me, like people take it too serious, where it's like, oh, I'm only watching one or the other because like this is what I grew up on, and it's like it is not that deep. It is just fucking wrestling. But yeah, it is like WWE, I think, is still that like entertainment and like that fun, like goofy stuff. Like they had a whole gingerbread man thing with like Little Yachty, and it was like dumb fun where I was like, I kind of miss this. Like I miss it like when wrestling wasn't taken seriously. Like when people online were like dissecting everything and being like, this is insane. So
That,
crazy wrestling tangent,
yeah.
like for the this final NBA portion of this, but hey,
All right.
I'm
Well,
okay
can
with it.
I? We got one more thing I need to bring up. in context of the finals before we move on to the next thing. Um, and I'm only bringing this up because we talk a lot of times about sports media and how bad it can be. And I think in moments like this, where something as like epic and like just monumental within the sports world happens, a lot of people scramble to be the ones to stand out when they talk about it. It's always like that. You want to be first. You want to say the hot take. Like you want to get the views, whatever it is. I think we did officially finally get one of the worst takes we've ever gotten in sports history.
I think I know what you're
This
talking
week,
about.
yeah, you definitely know. We got one of the worst takes we've ever heard in sports history, definitely in popular NBA history, where Vincent Goodwill, and I don't of ESPN, who I used to really enjoy, and I'm not gonna say I don't anymore, but like he was really good when he was at Yahoo, and I was excited when he went to ESPN. I was like, okay, like they're getting like a good basketball lineups over there. And then he goes on ESPN and says that the Larry O'Brien Trophy is a participation trophy because there hasn't been any more dynasties in the past like several years because we've had 8 different championships in a row. And so now apparently that means that the Larry O'Brien Trophy is a participation trophy unless you win it back to back or more than once within like a dynasty kind of run. And that is just completely asinine and a crazy way to try and take away what is one of the coolest moments in all of basketball and what is the whole purpose of all of this. Not even just basketball, just the whole purpose of sport is to be the champion. Like, what is the whole point of even fucking WWE? You want to get the belt. That is the whole purpose. That is the whole purpose and the whole point of why any of those guys and any of us like would get out of bed to do any of this. And so to go up as like a on the most, well, I don't know about it anymore, but like one of the most popular sports channels in the world, and to say that the championship is a participation trophy, just tear it all down. We got to start over. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Like we talk about sports media all the time, and it's just insane that we're getting to a point now where people are saying things like that to argue like whether or not it's bad for the league that there aren't dynasties.
To me, it is insane that we're one, like it's idiotic to say that shit. Like, because what do you mean? Like, and I think you said it best, where it's like this is what they wake out of bed for. This is what they've trained hours and hours, like every day for. Like they like live, breathe, like eat, sleep this because it's like it is their life. Like as much as people like will constantly make jokes like, oh, I could beat this NBA player, and there's always the Brian Scalabrine quote of like, I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me, and like I think so many times like people don't really fully process that type of thing and say like these people are literally training their entire lives like to regimens and stuff that we've levels that we've never seen. Like Russell Wilson just retired NFL, and like the every every off season his treatment and like the social media stuff that will come out about like, oh, Russ is doing this about his treatment. It's like, what? Like some weird shit. And you're like, well, like the man has played like as many seasons in the NFL as possible, and at a relatively high level for his position, I'd say yes. And even the stuff like how much LeBron spends like millions on his body every year just to the rehab and stuff. So it to me is like it's just insane that we're getting to a point where it's like people will say like that isn't the pinnacle of it. Like the pinnacle is actually winning 2 back to back. Like that is such an insane thing to say, and to say with confidence too. To be like, oh no, like like I'm right. Like, and
Oh,
it's
he
like
doubled down.
yeah, like it is the participation trophy thing to me was the worst part of this because it's like, you mean to tell me Jalen Brunson won a participation trophy for scoring 45 points in a closeout game
On the
in the
defensive player of the
NBA
year, shooting
Finals?
threes in his face. Yeah.
It's insane to say something like that, and it all be because there aren't any dynasties. Like that to me, like what point do you like? It always to me is, I don't want to say like unsatisfying, but like the a part of like what makes not to get all poetic and everything. A part of what makes life,
Please do.
like worth living is that there are setbacks, there's adversity, and it always isn't a straight path to everything. Where it's like you could say that for all the Knicks players, you could say that for the whole fucking Knicks organization, where it's like it's been years and years for this. Like if you don't have adversity in your life, like there isn't a like respectfully, there's not a point in living because it's like you're like well one you're probably you got a silver spoon, but like either way, there's some form of adversity where it's like you're going through life. It isn't just a straight path for you. Like you have moments that there's going to be setbacks and everything. And to say like that, like everything the Knicks players have been through individually and as an organization doesn't stack up because they haven't won championships back to back is insane. Like, you know, it doesn't take away from OKC winning it last year. It doesn't take away from, you know, Boston winning it the year before. Like all of these teams like have worked to get there, and like the diversity in championships to me is a positive thing. It's a positive thing for the NBA. It's a positive thing for the fan base that like we're having a competitive league, and there's a lot of problems. We constantly see the All-Star game being retooled every year. But all of these changes that they make, like you start to see things like fill out with this, and even like the tanking stuff. It's like it's all an effort to make things more competitive. And when you see how we're constantly getting new champions, it makes sense. Like it's working to some degree. And I know probably won't want to give Adam Silver credit for that, but it is a part of what he's done, ironically. So it to me, once again, it's a asinine take, but it's one of those things where it's like you need to be called out for how stupid it is.
Yeah, I mean, watch the parade tomorrow and tell me that it's just a participation trophy and it doesn't matter. I mean, look at Karl Anthony Towns, who after one of the finals games talked about how he saw his mom in the stands, who died like several years ago, like during COVID. Or tell Mikal Bridges, who had like the weight of the city on his shoulders at times because of all the picks that they traded for him and the crap he was getting at the beginning of the playoffs, and how relieved and just like how amazing that moment is for him and just the city in general, man. And Coach Mike Brown, who we talked about his journey and all the coaching that he's been through, he used to be with the Spurs, and it's just the journey that he's been on to get to this point after being, you know, thrown to the side by the most trash organization in the NBA. He was thrown away by that team to then be picked up by the team that plays in the Mecca and then win a championship for them. To say all of that is just a participation trophy and it doesn't like have hold any weight or matter is like you said it perfectly. It's asinine. It's stupid, and it should never. Moments like these should never be taken away from the players or his fans. Right. Anything else we need to talk about with the NBA before we move on to the W?
No, we're all good.
Yeah, we can talk about Giannis another time. All right. So speaking of transitioning, like we were earlier, let's pop some estrogen and get on to the W. Let me talk about this, man, because there's a lot. It's been a few weeks since we talked about the W, so I'm excited to touch on some like major points here. We're not going to go over so many games, but we're going to talk about just the league in general, what's been going on so far, because we're getting close to the halfway point. We're about 8 teams played like between like 13 and 15 games at this point. And then we got some like all-star stuff to talk about. We got some big league news for some stuff that's going to start happening next season, and then just some general WNBA thoughts in general. But let me throw it to you first, man. What did you want to talk about with the W?
Yeah, so obviously it's been a while. I decided to break it up into kind of an evaluation. I know it's like a mini evaluation of the time that we missed, but you mentioned it's like we're getting to the point where it's like you can start to see teams solidify where they're going to be. And I think based off of that, I decided to do like one team that I'm surprised where they are, one disappointment where I think you should be doing much better, and then like one team where I'm like you're pretty much on par for what I would have expected you to be at. The first one I'll say, the Lynx. They are my like the team that I above all else like I think they are surprised, and not just because well yes mostly because of Nafisa Collier not being there,
Yeah.
but just kind of evaluating like where like the direction they were going to head in. Like obviously like losing her, and they'll get her like later in the season, which is scary to say when they're the second best team in the W right now. Maybe third, maybe top, like they're top three. And I, yeah, and evaluating their roster, like, and obviously once again we were still newcomers to this. We had a good understanding, and we both watched Olivia Miles at TCU and Notre Dame, and we're like, oh, like we know she could flat out ball. And we have really just seen that so far this entire season. And I think she's running rookie of the year right now. We'll see, you know, Ozzy make a run. But I think the way Olivia Miles has impressed and has looked so confident as a rookie to just come out there and been that girl for them, say that guy. And I was like, that's you know, doesn't work. It's just been seriously impressive. And I think that above all else to me, is why the Lynx are where they at. And she's just a big part of this. Like, you know, you consider the entire team. So I think to me, it's just she stands out more than anything when you look at this Lynx team.
I mean, dude, her and like I'll say what's been great about me paying so much attention to the Lynx because of Olivia Miles this season is also that Courtney Williams is there, and she has quickly become one of my favorite players to watch in the W for so many reasons. But just anytime I see a mid-range assassin, I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is my type of player. The fact that I got a point guard like Olivia Miles on this team, and then a shooter like Courtney Williams playing right next to her in the backcourt is it is. I'm eating good, dude. Like this is like
Yeah.
my kind of like backcourt. I love it.
You
So
add
yeah,
in
you know,
Natasha Howard as well and how she's played. Like
dude.
this Minnesota team has just been phenomenal to
Yeah,
start the season. And then you consider the fact that they're missing probably the second best player in the entire W. It's
it's
you look
nuts.
around and you're like, this is scary. This shit is
And
scary.
what's crazy is you can almost say that about New York too, because Sabrina's only just now
Yes.
played her like what
Whoa, whoa,
second
whoa!
game of the season.
Don't steal my flow. I'm
Oh,
getting
no,
there.
no, no. Well, see, the good thing is that we're so like in sync with all this stuff. We both kind of had the first same major point because I also had Minnesota and New York in there. And hey, did you have the Aces in this point as well that you were going to go to? Oh, see, I beat you
They're my
there.
top three, but I don't have them on my
See,
like
I
talk
beat you
about
there
list right now.
because I was going to talk about Olivia Miles real quick. I think she solidified the Rookie of the Year race already when she got done talking shit to Asia Wilson and when they were on this middle of this 8-game win streak. First of all, it wasn't just Asia. Like Olivia Miles has been talking shit to everybody, and if you flop near her, she's gonna let the rest know about it, and she's gonna disrespect you for it. I'm another reason to like her. But the Rookie of the Year race for, and we'll get back to the other like the teams that we were talking about. I just have to make this point real quick. The Rookie of the Year race is over, and we're starting to get to a point where we're talking about this might be Candace Parker 2.0, where we see a rookie contend for MVP. And I know that sounds crazy, but she has legitimately been playing like one of the top 5 best players in the W since she's gotten there. Like, am I crazy?
I think when you have Asia Wilson in your league, I think you're crazy.
Okay, yeah, I'm not saying she is going to win it. I'm just saying the fact that she's clearly going to win Rookie of the Year
Yeah.
unless something catastrophic happens, which, like, right? But like Asia Wilson is always like the shoe in for it, but I'm just saying if there's anybody to contend for it right now with her, I think it is Olivia Miles, and then you can maybe throw in like a Kelsey Plum or something like that. But you
Yeah,
have to
Kelsey
take in
Plum and
like,
Leah Boston's had a good year as
but
well.
like
So
taking even like team success into it, like it is Olivia Miles who is leading the number 1 seed right now.
I think what quick like if she's on this pace and she can continues to grow, especially because you still see that there's still room to grow. If
Mhm.
she just expands and we see her like take it to another level, like the second half of the season, I think Nafisa Collier coming back is going to hurt the chances of that happening. And I think like they're gonna be like the roster is just it's too much. Like at that point where it's like she's going to have to take a more of a backseat role, and maybe that'll help her to some degree, like just be more comfortable. But her numbers are still going to go down to it, like to some degree, which I think would hurt like a potential MVP case.
I think she'll still be running. Like she'll still be involved enough though that like I don't think we'll see that much of a drop off. Maybe just less shots. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, she's been saying. But anyway, let's get back to the teams in general because all right, you want to go ahead with your New York point. I'll just say that they're currently on a 7-game win streak and
Yes.
they've been without Sabrina and they've already looked this good. And the part of that,
So
and because I'll let you finish
yeah,
your chewing. So
I don't know. I'm all good. So
unprofessional. This man.
it's been a long day. Okay. All right. When I said I had three teams, I said one surprise. I already talked about them in the links. The on par team, and it's weird to say this because they're on a 7-game win streak. It's deliberate to me. And it's like they should be here, but I'll add the note of like they're still a bit surprising to me because of how they got here.
Yeah.
Where it's like Sabrina Udesco's only played 2 games for you all season, and you're still on this win streak. You're still looking confident. Jonquil Jones is playing great for you. I think like Jonquil Jones, obviously Brianna Stewart is damn near MVP for you. Like everything is going in a positive direction for them, despite having without their best player or second, whatever, co-best player, is Sabrina Ionescu. And I think that to me has been the most impressive thing when you look at all this and say, like, this Liberty team is on a 7-game win streak. They're top of the one of the top teams in the W. And this is all without your co-best player. And I think that to me is how I look at this and say, like, they're on par. We expected them to be one of the better teams in the league. But when you look at how they got here, it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, well, you could thank Marine for that. I mean, she's been shooting the everlasting shit out of the ball, so that helps. And then Sabali, I mean, she also helps. Like adding those, like not adding, but like having those two there with you while Sabrina is like working her way back helps out a lot. And then but to your point, like when they do get Sabrina back, you're like, okay, well then what actually is this team? Because if they're going on 7-game win streaks now and they're one of the top 3 teams in the league, and then yeah, the Lynx are kind of doing the same thing, and the Aces have been like I'm not gonna say they've been up and down, but it hasn't been like as many like it hasn't been looked as consistent as some of these other teams until lately. I think, and shout out Jackie Young for that. We'll get to her later, but yeah, it's a scary notion to think that like when you get when you get all these best players back on these best teams in the league, like how good are they actually going to be? And then you still have the Aces, who it's like I just think like they're just it is still their league in my mind because we saw what happened last year where everyone's like, oh, like they'll be out this year, and then they just go on their run anyways. But Yeah, I mean, I think it is those three teams at the top. And then after that, my question to you would be, who is actually do you think could actually contend with these three teams?
Part of me wants to go dark horse and say like I think the Mystics are playing great.
Don't do
Like
that to me. Don't do that to
I
me.
don't want to give you that hope.
Don't do that to
I
me.
think to me when it's all said and done, I think it'll be one of those three teams. I think Dallas has looked good, but they're inconsistent. Like
Not Atlanta. Angel Reese is doing some
so
shit.
okay, so I would add them as a code. Like Dallas and Atlanta are like actual dark horses for me. I think like you could say Minnesota is a fun frisky team, or not Minnesota, Washington is a fun frisky team where it's like maybe they'll win a first round series, but I don't know about like making an actual deep run. But I think when you consider Dallas and the ability to just score quickly, like when you look at especially their point differential, and just the games and how like how quick their offense plays. I think they're going to be a team where it's like if they shoot lights out, it's going to be tough to beat them and keep up with them offensively. And then honestly, Atlanta for the opposite reason, where it's like the defensive ends for me. So
I mean, yeah, between Reese, Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, Jesus. By the way, did you see in the All Star voting they have her listed as a guard? I was like, I was like, is Ryan Howard like? I had to double check. I'm like, am I bugging? Do I really not know that much? I was like, I'm pretty sure she should be a forward. Am I wrong in that? But I mean, hey, look, it didn't really change my starting voting, but I was just kind of confused. I was like, I thought she would more played like as like a wing for them, but hey, whatever. Anyway, that was just more of like a. I was a little bit confused, but yeah, I do think you're right. Dallas is up there too if they can just be a little bit more consistent, especially on the defensive end. Like that is like the one thing that I think the one knock you can kind of give Paige Beckers right now is like her defense and kind of like the team in general at times. But other than that, yeah, I will say my kind of like dark horse in this would be the Sparks because Kelsey Plum is fuck. Well, it sucks that they just. It sounds like they lost Cameron Brink for. It sounds like for a long. I'm not gonna say the season, but it sounds like at least like a month or two,
yeah,
which is unfortunate. But yeah, dude, Kelsey Plum is having an insane goddamn season. Like on both ends, like it's offense. She's killing. If you get into an ISO with Kelsey Plum, just all right,
start jogging back on defense,
yeah, just go
or
ahead and
no,
just
on
start back
offense, I
on.
should say.
Yeah, just start transitioning on defense already because she's probably going to get to the bucket, and it's not just her drives, it's her shooting in general from mid and from long. Like she's having a fantastic season for them, and I do think they're a team where it's like, and this is like we talked about the Sparks at the very beginning of the season. It's like I
Yeah,
didn't think their defense was going to be this bad, and it's gotten a little bit better as the season's gone on. But I do think if they can just kind of like find a good like settling point for their defense and continue to evolve with their offense with Kelsey Plum doing what she's doing, I do think they're a team that can make some noise in the playoffs if they get there.
yeah.
Although they're 500 right now, so we'll see.
The final team I'll talk about, and it's the one disappointment team. And I think some people, if you're listening, you're like, oh, like why wouldn't this team be a dark horse or even a competitor? And it's the Fever. And I think for me, they are just far too inconsistent to like actually really judge like what we're getting. I think it all starts with your star-ish player, because I think Aaliyah Boston is I think Aaliyah Boston deserves a lot more credit than Caitlin Clark. But Caitlin Clark being the face of or semi face and has drawn a lot of eyes to the W. We see
She's
her
not the
get a lot of
face.
attention, and I think rightfully so. Like at the same time, she has not been this consistent, like go out there and be a killer type of player that we were expecting her to be this year. And it's a combination of like just bad shot, choices, yelling at the refs like constantly. Like there's just a lot of like it feels like it's just a lot of stuff that we thought would clear up this season are still the issues are still there. Where it's like the decision making, the attitude stuff, and that to me is why I look at this and say like I think she dictates why the Fever have been so inconsistent this year. Where it's like yeah, you get you stack 3 games in a row and then you lose a couple. And then I think because of that, it's like, all right, like you're looking at your key player and Caitlin Clark and saying, go out there and be the dictator for us, go dictate our season. And she's being too inconsistent for you to actually get a rhythm. And so I look at them and say, like, this team is stacking together wins, but it should just be more consistent with the talent that you have in Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been better lately, but like it
Yeah.
was a rough start to the season. Definitely. I mean, they're on a 4 game win streak right now, but and like Caitlin Clark, I go back and forth with her because because she came in with such expectations of such hype, right? And then you're like, okay, the shooting, like we've seen it there, like the rookie season was good, but then there's been the injuries and then some inconsistencies on the court, especially like this year at the very beginning and kind of like the first half of this like young season. It's been better lately, and I think a large part of that is that like I think she's been doing a better job of like relaxing and taking a step back and letting the game come to her a little bit more. And I think that's why we're seeing her assist go up a little bit more. And I think as she can more reliably be playmaker first and then score second, I actually do think that's the pathway for her to be the better player that she's supposed to be within this league, especially if she wants like long term success. I
Yeah.
do think that's the pathway forward. And I will say for players like her and Olivia Miles and guys like that or girls like that, but the assist numbers are always so funny to me because I'm like, oh, wow, she's leading the league in assists. But then you'll watch the games, you're like, she should probably have like three more assists per game because you've got like Sophie Cunningham or like the whole brick and some layups for them. And it's just like I didn't mean to call out those two, but yeah, it's just that was kind of a funny thing to me. Like watching the last game, I was like, Jesus, like Clark should have like five more assists again. But yeah, I agree with you. Like the Indiana Fever, like they should be better, and I do think they're starting to figure things out, and they have some of the like players in place that you would want. But I don't know. I would like to see Raven Johnson still get more minutes, but that's kind of hard with the backcourt that they already have.
Yeah.
All right. Any other teams you wanted to specifically talk about though?
No, I think the rest are like kind of where I would have expected them to be. Gabby Williams is having a really good year with
Yeah.
the Valkyries so far.
All
But
star.
yeah. And speaking of All Star, I think we can transition
Yeah.
there. The first All Star voting came out. It's similar to like we did with the just kind of a catch up. I have like 3 points I took away from this of being like, these are things that I have issues with
Right.
off of this. And the first one that I noticed, and I was like, obviously you go from one and you're looking down. I think Ozzy Fudd is way too high. 11, and you consider like, and I know, and this is where it's like this. You have to take into consideration this is a fan vote, and I think that is the biggest thing with this is like she's a rookie who had a big popular following while she was in college. She's pretty popular, and she's been good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's to the standard of like what a rookie should be doing,
Mm.
but when you look at like the way Olivia Miles has been playing, and then you look at like the way Ozzy's been playing, and to say that they're like Olivia Miles is only 2 spots higher than her in terms of voting, I think that's crazy to me. And then you consider the players that I think should be in the consideration of being a lot higher, and those two to me are Sonia Citron of the Mystics and Jonquil Jones of the Liberty. And to me, it's like those two in particular. I look at this and say like, our Sonia Citron is 18th on this list.
Yeah.
And then Jonquil Jones is 28th on this. Where I was like, are we for real? Like Jonquil Jones has been holding it down. And we talked about the Liberty and like their win streak and the confidence that they're playing with, and a lot of that comes down to Jonquil Jones being that person for them alongside Brianna Stewart. So I think she deserves a lot more recognition. And in terms of the Mystics as well, like they're a fun, frisky team. And it's funny they were talking about this and they called themselves the Young Hoes. And I was like, yeah, if that's what y'all like, if that's what y'all want to go by, like I'm not gonna say it because I'm not getting canceled. But I'll let you guys. I'll just repeat your words. And I think like she's been a big part of why this team has been so fun. And it's like it's cool to see like once again the culture building in the W, and I think like Shakira Austin is a big part of that as well.
Yeah.
It's like as like actual like watchers of the W this year, we're starting to see like fun little stuff like speaking of the Lynx, like them doing the candy dance like after
Yeah.
the wins, like it's so funny. Like I was like, oh, that's a generational cookout thing, and then to see it like play out that way, I'm like, that's just like it's just funny to me. But it's all really cool. And I think especially when you look at Washington and the culture that they're building, especially as a young team, I think Sonia Citron is a big part of that. And I think she deserves a lot more recognition than 18th, especially below Sophie Cunningham. Like I was like, are we for real? Like, but this is a popularity vote at the end of the day. And we'll see, like, obviously first ballots, and this is fan votes. We'll see a lot more, like when we actually get the actual thing, we can actually sit there and say, oh, these were actual like people who voted on this that had good opinions. Not that the people don't have good opinions, but you still do see like, influences of people that should be a lot lower or a lot higher.
Yeah. Influence of people from corn country. Um, Yeah, because it's the final votes for all this will be 50% fan, and then it's coaches and players as well.
Yeah.
And then for that's for the starters, and then for the reserves, that is coaches. I think purely picking that, if I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's like 10 starters total, and then after that, it's like 12 reserves. I think, right?
I had to fact check
I'm
that.
pretty sure it is. But yeah, so let's get into our picks though, because um, we have the votes, and then I have my own personal here. So you get for the starters, you do 4 guards and 6 front court. So let me give you want to give you mine.
All right, let me lay it on me.
Okay. So guards, obviously Olivia Miles. That was going to be a lock in. Paige Beckers was going to be a lock for me as well, and Kelsey Plum were going to be a lock for me. The 4th spot is what I really struggled with. It was between like Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark. It was like Chelsea Gray. It was I was gonna say no, not Courtney Williams, but like I think she should be reserved. But it was players like that. But and I have. All right, I'm gonna preface with this with the fact that
Uh-oh.
I know what's gonna happen. Kaylin Clark is gonna get a starting role as
Yeah.
part of the guard unit. We all know that's gonna happen. Am I going to agree with it? Probably not. But can I just throw in a name? I threw in a 4th name because I think she does deserve it, but also because I just think it would be cool. And she deserves more recognition. She's gotten some. I think Jackie Young should get like a late push towards this All-Star voting to potentially be a starter, and she should 100% at least be in the reserves because what she has been doing for Vegas, offensively especially, has been amazing, and it's a large part of the success that they've had lately, especially this season in general, as they've gotten to sort of like a slower start. I think she's been absolutely just amazing and a lot of fun to watch. So I do think she deserves more recognition.
So it is 12 reserve players.
Okay.
So
Okay.
um my 5, if I was saying just
Four.
5, I think should be
Four. Four.
4. Obviously Asia Wilson, I like
Oh no, you're talking about for
unanimous.
your. Wait, hold on. Because for the front court, you get 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me go through. Okay, so Asia Wilson, Olivia Boston, Breonna Stewart, I think. Jessica Shepard's had a really good year for Dallas as well. I think she's been a
Yeah.
big part of why they've been good. So I'll say her as well. You said 6 for front court. I literally just 6 for front court and 4 guards.
Yeah. You get 10 total.
Okay.
It is 4 guards, 6 front court.
Okay. Looking at her, Angel Reese, I'll throw in her 2, and then Gabby Williams. I like that. I think the front 6. I understand it. I would just say Jonquel Jones. I think should be a lot higher, and I would consider maybe putting her in over. I would say Jessica Shepard or Gabby Williams, but they both have really good years. I value her as like that really like fringe 7th, for like one of the teams, and then guards Paige. I'm gonna go in the same boat of you as like I think Caitlin gets it, and I think she's done enough to get it. Where it's like
she's
it wouldn't be like you wouldn't sit there and be like that's outrageous because she's Caitlin Clark.
But
So I'm gonna go
happen just alone because of the popularity.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Paige, Caitlin Clark, Olivia Miles, and then I'll say Kelsey Mitchell as well.
Oh, Kelsey Mitchell. Yeah, I like that. All right, let me give you my front court. You ready? I got Angel Reese, and this isn't in any order, but Angel Reese, Breonna Stewart, Natasha Howard. I do have Alyssa Thomas. I have Gabby Williams, and of course, the GOAT, Asia Wilson. Like, I mean, that's just.
I'm not mad at it.
But yeah, I had that. I had to have Angel Reese in there. I had to have Breonna Stewart in there. I needed to have Natasha Howard in there. I need people to realize how good of a season that the 3-time champ is already having. Alyssa Thomas was the one and Gabby Williams were the 2 I was more on the fence about. Like, those were the 2 I agree with you. Like, I think Jonquel Jones could easily take one of their spots. Alyssa Thomas, while like their team success is like in the basement right now, like she still has been having like just a season deserving of an All-Star nod.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other names you wanted to like? I mean, I love the Mystic shout out between Kiki and Sonia both. Like, I love that for them. It would have been cool to see, like I said, like I already talked about her earlier, but like Courtney Williams get a little bit more recognition in this.
Yeah.
Because I do think she's been awesome. I agree with you that some of the Indiana players in this, I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, like, and even like we mentioned her very like early on, like Cameron Brink hasn't played enough this season to have her 20th. Where it's like you're saying she's had a better season than Dom Malonga, like Marina Mabry and Jonquel Jones. Like it's popularity at that point. So I look at this and say like it is like what are we doing sometimes? Where it's like you look at these names, you're like, really?
Yeah, and then also just say Nika Ogwumike, like I do think she like deserves more recognition in that room as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's making for. I mean, it's been an exciting season, and it's. I think the All Star. Hopefully, it's as fun as it was last year. But we'll get a lot of fun moments out of that. Where is the All Star game next year? Actually, I never know these. I never
It
pay attention.
is.
Ooh,
I
my
believe it's
fault.
New York. I'm. Oh no, Chicago.
Chicago.
It is
Love
Chicago.
Chicago. Ooh, what a great city. What a great city. All right, cool. So they're going to Skylar Diggins City. Sweet. Okay. Ooh, I wish I could give more recognition to this too, but like the past couple of weeks have been a little rough
Yeah,
for
it is
for the
tough.
Sky in general. Although, hey, shout out Sydney. She got her first start today, so good for her.
Let's go.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about with the W?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching and listening to both the NBA and the W side. Hopefully, we'll be back with more content again soon. We're still going to be doing this every week, and we're trying to figure out when we're going to do some NFL content because with OTAs and training camp all kind of getting there, and us getting closer to August, we know everything's trying to ramp up. So we've got plenty to talk about, plenty to preview for the upcoming season. But we'll keep up with the W as it keeps going along, and we've been a lot of fun covering it. So appreciate everyone who's been following along with us. But I've been Ty. That's Jay. We will see you all again next week. Appreciate you all.